I've never been one to review a series while it's still running. I prefer to wait when it's finished to get a better gist of it, but a lot of people in the comments section of my videos have been asking me to review The Penguin. Plus, there's a lot of people out there already reviewing it, and we're 4 episodes into this 8-episode limited show, so I thought, why not? It makes a nice change of pace for me to review something current than to talk about shows that are 20 years old. I liked the Batman movie. I know the Joker film is set in a different universe, but I liked the darker, grittier feel that these new Gotham projects have about them. The Batman was a film that, to all intents and purposes, was an excellent crime film, albeit with people running around in capes. There was mob stuff, political corruption, a murder mystery, a serial killer. It blends that real-world ugliness with comic book exaggeration to make something that is fun, but also earnest. Colin Farrell as the Penguin was a runaway star of the film. The jaw-dropping makeup effects second only to the mannerisms and voice that he put on to create a character where you don't know at all that it's him without being told. Oswald Cobb as a medium-level sleazy mobster was a colourful addition to the film, and a sequel show following the events of Gotham City after the movie's flood, told from Oz's point of view as he looks to take advantage of the gap in the criminal underworld, sounded like great fun. I was mildly interested, is how I describe it. Could an entire show of the Penguin end up as too much of a good thing? Would the TV MA rating come off as too try-hard after the movie, since as dark as it was PG-13? Maybe there's something subconscious in the back of my mind that made me want to hate the show, because I know that if it's successful, like with Star Wars and Marvel before it, we'll be flooded with Catwoman series, the Riddler series, the Joker series, and so on. But I gotta say, 4 episodes in, I'm really impressed. And any reservations I had about the show have been wiped away. You know that feeling you get when you think a show is gonna screw something up, but the more you watch it, you think, yeah, the showrunners really know what they're doing here. That's what watching The Penguin feels like. Unlike, say, the Book of Boba Fett, one of the few Star Wars shows I've checked out, each episode of The Penguin feels well defined. Enough happens to justify each episode's existence, is what I'm saying. So many shows these days feel like content bait, which are stretched out, but The Penguin never stagnates. The opening episode has the Penguin kill Alberto Falcone, the son of deceased mob boss Carmine Falcone, in a fit of anger when Alberto laughs at him. From there, he plots to play different elements of the crime world against each other, in particular the Falcone crime family and their rivals, the Maronis, for Oz to pick up the pieces amid a backdrop of backstabbing and double-crossing and to come out on top. Ostensibly, he is working for the Falcones, and things are complicated when Alberto's unhinged serial-killing sister, Sofia Falcone, is released from Arkham Asylum after 10 years, looking to secure her family's strength and find out who had her brother killed. If Colin Farrell was the wildcard hit of the Batman, then Kristen Milioti is the wildcard hit of the Penguin, delivering a sublime performance as the creepy and sinister Sofia, in particular the excellent episode 4, which delves into the character's backstory, why she was sent to Arkham. For the most part, the show feels consistent with the movie. Obviously, they have more blood and swear words to play around with in the show, which they make use of without going over the top. The world feels grim and dark. I don't think the Penguin makeup was as good as the movie. It is amazing, don't get me wrong, but it's ever so slightly a downgrade from the film, which is to be expected as they would have had to find a more economic way to getting it on and off for the filming of a series where he's the protagonist, as opposed to a movie where he's a side character. Story-wise, it's not unfair to say the Penguin follows a tried and tested formula from Akira Kurosawa's Yojimbo or Sergio Leone's A Fistful of Dollars, with Oz playing 2 families against each other and having to navigate the egos and larger-than-life personalities. It's essentially a gangster show set in the seedy underbelly of the city, dealing with mob politics and violence, just with a light Batman paint job. As a big fan of gangster movies and shows, as fans of the channel will know, it feels right up my street, and strange as it is to say, it felt pretty authentic as a mob drama. I'm curious to see what my subscribers think of the show, so let me know down in the comment section. There's 2 things that stick out as major positives of the show. the characterization, and the narrative, and to a lesser extent, the attempt at a world that feels real, feels organic, for which the show must be given credit. There's little things here and there where you can see they made an effort, like Oz getting into an awkward moment when he is crossing the road and a driver gives him way but he wants the driver to go first. It lasts for like 2 seconds, but you can see what they're doing, injecting everyday-like scenarios into the show, and it is appreciated. Oz is a great character. The dangers of following a villain too closely in a show as a protagonist is that you can end up losing what made them what they are. Again, the Book of Boba Fett comes to mind. And there are moments where you think that the show might be getting too soft on Oz, but these are followed up with scenes cementing the fact that he is a sleazeball. We get a lot of insight into him, like seeing that he has a poorly mother who manipulates him, and more subtle elements of the character. Farrell injects a lot of energy and colour into him. There's one part that impressed me where Oz is having a heart-to-heart with Sofia, justifying actions he did in the past, and he makes a small gesture to his face, saying, "A guy like me getting all of that," but not really elaborating. I thought that was an excellent insight into the fact that Oz is self-conscious about the way he looks and how ugly he is. There's a few moments like that in the show, and Sofia is also a brilliant multi-layered character with her facial tics and everything, which brings me to the narrative. The show makes itself interesting by giving you breadcrumbs concerning the past, concerning Oz and Sofia's relationship. It gives you A, B, but not C from the offset, but when it comes around to giving you C, that C puts things into perspective really well. For example, and this is a minor spoiler, but Sofia killed someone after coming out of prison because she thinks he was linked to the death of her brother. The flashback episode, though, establishes her to have been quite a meek character, and not the serial killer she is made out to be. It makes the character come off as inconsistent, but as the story goes on, you see that her brother was the only person who supported her when she was completely alone, and events in her life led her to becoming more deranged, with us ending up at a stage where it makes complete sense that she would shoot someone if she thought they had her brother killed. Not to mention, we last saw the brother in the opening episode where he came off as a partying douchebag who didn't learn anything from his father. But again, further episodes give us context, and we see he would have had very tangible reasons not to have been too close to Carmine. So the storytelling is fantastic. Each episode has been better than the last, and the fourth one traded a crime story for a horror one, taking a deep dive into how Arkham Asylum shaped Sofia Falcone. I haven't talked too much about Victor, the kid who Oz recruits. I am thinking about doing a separate video on their relationship, but initially I found it to be one of Oz's more baffling decisions in the opening episode to spare this kid who was going to steal from him and instead make him his assistant, especially when later Oz has no qualms about killing a friend of his. What makes this kid different? Sure, I suppose both share disabilities and Oz gives him the chance that he had as a youngster, but it does cross your mind that the Penguin should surely have a dozen young men working for him who he could have as a number two. I mean, he's taking him with him to see his ma almost immediately. It's all happening a bit too fast. From a narrative perspective, I figured the show wanted a young audience surrogate who wasn't an ugly bastard while we follow the Penguin, with Oz delivering exposition to him so that we understand Oz's actions. Maybe they could have gone for an actor a little bit more seasoned and a character who's already had a bit of involvement in the mob. He does tend to stick out. I wasn't sold on Victor, but he has grown on me a bit, and through him we get further insight into the events of the Batman movie, like how the flood affected civilians. He also makes a surprising Christopher Moltisanti-esque decision to forego escaping Gotham with the love of his life and living the life of a schnook, and instead staying with Oz, a decision which surely the narrative will punish him for. Maybe Oz will eventually sell him out, cementing himself as a real villain, lest the audience fall too in love with the Penguin. I like that they didn't make him some kind of criminal mastermind who's always outwitting his enemies. For the most part, it seems, other characters see through his lies, but as Sofia says, he always knows just what to say. A minor complaint I might have is that many of the mob actors don't really look like gangsters, more like business executives. For sure, if you look up photos of modern crime bosses, they don't look how you might imagine, but even still, the sleaze and authenticity of the likes of John Turturro is missing in favour of the likes of Mark Strong and Michael Kelly. There's a presence about the mob lacking. So what did you make of this show? Let me know down in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel and thanks for watching.